guys, my name is Julia and I'm an incoming first year medical student, and I decided that I wanted to start a YouTube channel so I could document my journey from the beginning of medical school all the way to becoming a physician, and to help other people who want to do the same thing kind of find their way and get some advice on how to make the process as fun and enjoyable and painless as possible. So today I wanted to make a video about how I got into medical school and the tips that I have for you to make the process as easy as possible and to make you as well prepared as you can be to enter the medical field. So today I'm going to go over the things that I did that really gave me an advantage in the medical school application process, and how you can use those things to help yourself, whether you're a high school student just thinking about it or you're getting ready to apply. The first and most important thing that I did throughout the entire process was staying organized and staying motivated. So when I first got to college, I met with the pre-med advisor like the second week of school, and I remember it being so horribly overwhelming because she handed me all these sheets of papers and was like, you need to get this certification and do this volunteering thing and do X, Y, and Z if you want to get in, or you're not going to make it. And I remember leaving that meeting and feeling like there's no way I'm going to accomplish this. Literally, there's no way that this ever happens. And I reached out to an upperclassman that I knew that had known people who had gotten in and was in the middle of the application process. They were like, slow down, calm down. There is not one right way to do things. And that was really helpful for me because I was like, okay, I need to step back and realize that there is not one specific pathway that I have to take, but also that I can learn a lot from other people and there's not just one resource for information. So at that point, I decided I wanted to get really organized in taking in all of the advice I can. I know at my university, there were all sorts of clubs and seminars and events and networking events where I could really meet with medical students and physicians and even just upperclassmen pre-med students who understood the process a little bit more and were willing to give out all sorts of advice. So as I would go to those events, I had a running list on my phone and I would just add information to it, and then I added that all into a notebook. So I actually have a physical notebook somewhere, which maybe I could pull out sometime, with just all sorts of tips on how you can make yourself the best applicant possible to get into medical school. And after taking in that kind of information for a little bit, I decided I wanted to kind of plan out my schedule for what I needed to accomplish to apply to medical school and to have all of the requirements met in time and the things that I wanted to do to be successful as an applicant. So at that point, I really was very certain I wanted to do the whole process in 4 years. I didn't want to take a gap year, so that affects when I could take my MCAT, when I wanted my prereqs done. So I decided I wanted all of my prereqs done by fall of junior year so that that requirement was out of the way. I wanted to take my MCAT the winter of my junior year. And I made all of those decisions in advance and really stuck to them. And giving myself those deadlines kept me motivated because I knew what was coming and when I needed to finish it. That was helpful all the way through applying because I knew when I wanted to do things and I got those things done, and I had goals for myself because before I was just looking at it as this huge mountain of things that I had to do and I was never going to do enough, and having specific goals for myself was really, really helpful. A second most important thing that I did that obviously everyone's going to tell you is prioritizing school. I personally had a high GPA and a high MCAT score, which I think really helped me get my foot in the door and opened up a lot of opportunities for me. I do want to say that your GPA and your MCAT score are not everything. What it does do is it opens up the door for you to a lot of different programs, and it avoids those academic statistics being a hurdle or something you have to defend later on. So everything doesn't have to be perfect, but what I did do was make sure that school was my priority. And I made time for school all the time. And sometimes that meant sacrificing things with my friends, and sometimes that meant, staying home and studying when other people were doing fun things or when I could be taking a nap. And I think I will make a video at some point on things that I wish I did differently, and sometimes I think I could have backed up on this some. But prioritizing school was incredibly helpful for me. It taught me very good study habits, and it made sure that academics were not going to be a hurdle for me during the process. And it really opened my eyes to a lot of different programs that I got the opportunity to apply to and interview to, that I don't think I would have had the actual academic part of it not been so important. The third thing that I did that I think was really helpful, not so much in straightforward getting accepted, but in preparing me for what pre-med was going to be like, for applying, and has prepared me for medical school, is networking. And the way that you network obviously is different based on where you are and who you know, but at my school we had a few different networking events with all physicians, or with female physicians, or with medical students, and I attended every single one that I could go to. I have found that a lot of people going into medicine are very willing to give you advice and give you information because they know how hard the process is. So I would go to all of them, talk to everyone I could. A lot of times I got people's phone numbers and email addresses, so I had someone to reach out to if I had questions. And this was another place that I would just take in information and listen to other people's advice on how to give myself the best chances at acceptance. Networking also gave me the opportunity to shadow a lot of different physicians, and it made it easier to look for recommendation letters when it came time for that. So I think networking is really important. It does not have to be something super elaborate, but it was something that I think made me really prepared for the process, and I felt like I knew a lot more about what was going on than some of my friends and classmates did that had just kind of learned everything as they went. Something else that I really would emphasize is being involved. And I think that people take this a lot of different ways, but for me, being involved meant doing different things that I cared about, that I enjoyed, but that also showed that medicine was important to me, and showed who I was as a person. All in all, I think being involved shows that you care about things that are in medicine and not in medicine. It shows that you have the ability to budget your time and handle classes and these extracurriculars, and it can show a lot of leadership potential. I think those three things can collectively show the admissions committee why you would be a good physician in the future. Something else that I did was I started my personal statement early and I revised it. So you have to write a personal statement to apply to medical school. The character requirement is different based on which programs you're applying for, but I started my personal statement in January of the year that I applied. And as someone who has wanted to be a doctor since I can remember, I felt very overwhelmed by the concept of sitting down and writing about why I wanted to be a doctor. It's something that has become kind of innate for me, and it's a quick answer to any question about what I want to do with my life, but being able to articulate that is very hard. So I'd be happy to give more advice about how I wrote my personal statement, but essentially, really early on, my junior year, I sat down and I was like, today is the day you're going to just write something, and if you hate it, you can start over. So I knew I wanted to incorporate some stories, so I picked out 3 of my favorite stories of my experiences that really connected me to medicine, wrote a personal statement, I sent it to 3 people, shut my computer, didn't look at it till the next day. And on that next day, I revised it, I looked at other people's revisions and decided what I wanted to implement, and I kept writing. And I think doing that a lot of times, way in advance, helped me to be at the point when it came time to apply. My personal statement wasn't a question anymore. I had my personal statement ready in a folder by the date the application began, and it just had to be submitted. That is so helpful. You don't want to be stressing about the personal statement as you're getting closer to the application deadlines. So start early with that, have people look at it. Also realize that it is your personal statement, not anyone else's. So while people can give you advice as far as writing goes, make sure that it's really selling who you are and that you're not taking advice that would take away from the character of that personal statement. Another one of the most important things I did that helped me get accepted to medical school was applying early. And a lot of people adhere to this, but this was something that I was very dead set on. I applied only to MD schools and not in Texas, so I only used the AMCAS application, and the year that I applied, that opened for the first time on May 1st and could be submitted on May 31st. So by the time May 1st rolled around, I had a folder on my computer of all of those activities I had tracked, my personal statement, and anything else that I really needed for the application. I had my letters of rec dealt with. All I had to do was send that information and I was ready to go. And on May 1st, I started working on writing all of my essays, refining everything, so that on May 31st at 9 a.m., when I could submit my application, I submitted it. Now, it's not essential to submit your application the very first second, but what that did for me was I knew that I was not going to be hindered by the day or the time that I had submitted, and I also knew that I didn't have to worry about it anymore. So I got mine done, it was submitted as early as it could be submitted, and I could shift my focus to my secondary application. And finally, something that I think I was able to do well towards the end, but something that I would totally change from the beginning, was being myself and showing myself throughout the application process. That is what makes people stand out. And looking at the application process in retrospect, some of it is up to chance, some of it is up to what kind of people are interviewing at that school that year. Do you mesh with the other students who are being accepted? And I think the best way to maximize your chances of being accepted to a school you're happy at is to really be yourself and to let go of a lot of that perfectionism that I think pre-med students really feel. As there's a lot of pressure when this is something you want to do and you know that it's competitive. I remember hearing over and over again that 40% of people are accepted, and then you look at acceptance rates for schools and it's so overwhelming that it's easy to get caught up on doing things the right way. What ultimately landed me this acceptance was showing this program who I am and why I love medicine. Making that my approach to the application process at the end, I was able to land myself an acceptance to one of my dream schools, and I could not be happier. The application process is such a learning experience. It has changed me. It has changed my outlook on myself and on who I am as a person. And it is something that is totally doable. If you're looking at this and feeling overwhelmed, it is totally achievable. And it just requires a lot of determination and a lot of passion. That is how I was accepted to medical school. Like I said, I think I may make another video soon about the things that I would do differently if I did it again. Let me know if that's something you're interested in, or if there's any other videos that you would be interested in me talking about. I'm very excited to start vlogging and sharing my experiences in medical school with you in just a couple of weeks. So please subscribe if you haven't yet, and comment down below if there's anything that you would like me to talk about, if you have any questions or just want some advice on anything. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Why did I wave? That's weird.